I promise you this election cycle was looking gloomy, but this news today, we might be back, boys. So this is essentially breaking news, but Joe Biden has officially dropped out of the presidential race. And I can tell you from a lot of perspectives, this may seem like a very concerning thing because you're like, well, who the else will take that position? Well, his vice president, Kamala Harris. And before I get into this whole situation and what it means for the politics, Kamala Harris is still a neoliberal person. She's still somebody who arrested people who look like me for eighths of weed back in the day. So she still isn't the perfect person, but she's damn sure better than Joe Biden and Trump. But I want to talk about Biden for a second because what he did is actually very important to preserving the thing that the Republicans think they're trying to preserve, which is the democracy of America. Instead of using his ego and thinking that he was the greatest candidate up there in the Democratic Party, which was obvious that he wasn't, especially after the 2020 election, he put his personal ambitions aside to see the country become better. I wish older people in higher institutions of government would also view that. I'm mainly talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm not going to blame her for everything that happened on the Supreme Court, but I can tell you right now, for Trump being in office, her not stepping down and passing away was a literal alley-oop to the dunk of shit we see today. So Biden being out, we can now discuss what the potential tickets look like for the election in November. I hate that I'm speaking about this like it's some NBA draft. So the ticket I am the most in favor of, mainly because I know about both of the candidates, is the Harris-Whitmer ticket. And in my opinion, maybe I'm super subjective because I'm a Michigan resident, but Gretchen Whitmer has been battle tested in keeping her composure. There's an entire plan to kidnap her because of her putting restrictions on COVID. And Gretchen Whitmer is heavily respected by the majority of Michigan. I don't really hear anybody talking bad about Gretchen Whitmer at all, I'm being honest. Maybe it's my circles, but Gretch really ain't that bad. Especially because Gretch got the buffs. But all jokes aside, she's been through trials and tribulations and she will always fight for the people first. That's something that's true about her. And with me, this is the most hopeful ticket I have because that means we're gonna have a lot of social justice and human rights being mended. The country is going to be a lot happier if this ticket wins on election night. And there could be different potentials by the time we get to November, but those are the two that are most notable to me. And so with me listing those tickets, you notice that I didn't say one name, and that name is Biden. Which is a very good thing, because this now means all of the polling data that we got is arbitrary. It no longer matters, because a lot of that polling data hinged on the fact that Biden was going to be on the nomination. Because he is no longer on there are no more guarantees or locks, even in the swing states. There isn't really a way to control swing states, to be honest with you, but because of this fresh blood in the DNC now, they can better influence them, better than they could in the past with Joe Biden. And at least if you're paying attention to this political space, which I've done way too much, so you would know that people didn't really favor Joe Biden on that nomination. And because people didn't want to see Biden there, that was feeding votes for the Republican Party, mainly just Trump though. But speaking on the Republican Party now, they kind of lost that edge that got them those votes, which is making fun of Joe Biden. Because everybody was saying Joe needs to be out of the race, this, that, and the third. Now that he's out, they don't know what to do anymore. They're scrambling. And because they can no longer make fun of Sleepy Joe, they have to try to find a new tactic. And in my opinion, the GOP's tactic to try to win this is to try to use their real American traditional values to sway voters. Because I'll be honest with you, Kamala being the president, that's going to be a lot of attacking coming from the GOP. Because a lot of them, although they don't say this part out loud, is that they don't really respect women in politics. And I hate that I'm going to use this example. It is a terrible example, but I'm going to use it on the basis of gender. A lot of the reason why Hillary Clinton lost was because men didn't think she could run the country solely on her being a woman, thinking that her hormones would start wars. When all men have started wars. Man, that's awkward, isn't it? But this is not me advocating for Hillary Clinton. I'm being honest with you, that it was a terrible example, like I said. And because the GOP has done this before, Kamala will be a target off general principle, at least to them. They're gonna really try to belittle the DNC by using DEI, which ironically is the hat I'm wearing. Because seeing woke and DEI become these placeholder words for slurs, honestly, I know for a fact they're gonna launch those terms at Kamala Harris to try to get cheap votes in. And to be honest with you, the GOP is gonna be kind of desperate to do anything because their plans involve Project 2025, which Donald Trump says he's not a part of, which lies. Cap. And if you believe Trump saying that he knew nothing about this thing, I'm sorry, but that's just ignorant. Mainly because if you look at Trump's administration, they're littered all over Project 2025's database. And not only the database, they're the main staff members as well. So saying that he knew nothing about it is just a flat out lie, man. And I want to explain Project 2025 a little bit more. I'm mainly doing this just in case you need more information on it. Project 2025 is the conservatives' way of undoing the damages that the left has done in politics, which, no, anyway. They describe Project 2025 as trying to rescue the country from the radical left. And their way to fight the radical left is to literally implement fascism and a dictator. Because the premise of Project 2025 is expanding those presidential powers, which basically means that anybody that works for any state department would be automatically dismissed and the president would assume that power. And I don't think this would be a stretch to say, Donald Trump, if he was re-elected this coming November, would never not be the president for the rest of our lives. Or at least until the end of the United States. I don't know. Because of how he acted during the last election when he lost. If he was elected under Project 2025, he would quite literally be a dictator. There would be no incentive for him to ever leave office ever again. And this is where I gotta thank social media a lot, because Project 2025 has been talked about a lot, as well as Agenda 47, which I gotta give some time to that too. And what Agenda 47 is the manifesto that Donald Trump published that discusses what he's going to implement if he's re-elected. For example, one of those things is backing out of the Paris Agreement, which would literally fuck us for the climate crisis we're in. And to further explain this, Trump would cut all of the bills that Biden put for infrastructure to cut down on emissions because of the radical Green New Deal. Like, dude, what the fuck? It's not just a buzzword anymore. You can read the whole entire 922-page thing, which I ain't did yet, but through the pages I have read, it's troubling because it is literally looking at the United States as a fascist state in 1 year. And because society is now aware of that, they don't want to be in that either. So knowing about this allows more people to vote against it. Speaking of voting, I want to talk about the voter bases between both the DNC and the GOP, right? And as much criticism as I have for the Democrats, there's one thing that they do correctly, is that they are somewhat socially progressive. They would like to see this country still somewhat operate as a democracy as opposed to GOP voters. Because the DNC's voter base already just wants somebody that's non-offensive and socially progressive, right? And on this battle with Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer, this is the most non-offensive thing. They're like two aunties up there. And at least for Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer acts like the cool auntie that actually likes to help your life and make it better and not ruin your day, you know? Gretchen Whitmer at least cares about the people first. And to be honest with you, the potential DNC tickets are going to be a lot more attractive because they're younger than Joe Biden, which isn't really a hard bar to cross, but like, man. And then we have the GOP voter base, which honestly, they're a lot more stratified than you think. Because a lot of people automatically assume that every Republican is a Trumper, which we've seen recently is not the case. There's a lot of infighting in the DNC, but it's a lot more prominent in the GOP. And in my opinion, I feel like they have a lot less respect for each other as political partners. So this voter base is either going to be Trump versus non-Trump and then any other Republican in there. And because of that camp of being Trump versus non-Trump, you have a lot of votes that can be lost because of that. And I'm going to say this one, and it's not going to seem true. Trump is not that favorite either. People don't really like Donald Trump as much as the media likes to say they do. And his voters are a very, very, very radical group, but they're still the minority. They're not representative of every Republican. Because like, even think about his running mate, JD Vance. There are people hating on JD Vance because he's in an interracial couple. Like, what are we doing? What? When you have that type of infighting in your voter base, it makes it much harder for the top candidate to win, which also emphasizes the fact that we have milquetoast candidates in the DNC. This is a strong advantage because having the non-offensive candidate, the person that has no personality, not like the one we've seen for the past 8 years, those non-offensive people are going to win a lot more votes because they're the safest option possible. And even though I am advocating for Democrats to win this election, that is not me saying that they're always going to do the right thing. And we need to hold these Democrats accountable if they win this election. We need to let them know as people, just because we avoided the evils of Trump does not mean you can just coast by like Joe Biden did. But as a society, we are a lot more conscious to know what we do and we don't want. We do want candidates who actually represent our interests, and we don't want to be complicit in a genocide. So for anybody thinking that I thought Kamala Harris was my savior after saying all this, she's not, and no. She's a lot better than Trump in the GOP, but she's not perfect, just like none of them are. But at least for the time being, for this election year, because boy, it has been spicy, man. Oh my God, I'm so scared. Voting for Kamala Harris and her running mate is the greatest thing we can do to at least get a deep exhale, a pause on all this chaotic shit. And that's just fingers crossed. I don't even know if that's real, man, but I got faith. I'm telling you, I'm optimistic. But yeah, man, Biden dropped out. We are so back, and that is the end of this rant. If you enjoyed this rant, leave a like on the video. It puts your boy in the algorithm so everybody can see your boy, BasedDom. Yes, sir, man. Leave a comment. Where were you when you found out this Joe Biden information? Because I was playing college football 25 and I was shaking out of my jimmies. My socks were blown off. I was not expecting to see this, but I wasn't expecting to see any of what I've seen in the past 2 weeks in politics. Let me know your thoughts. Let's have a dialogue. And subscribe, man. We got 3,000 subscribers and I think we're at 3,100, man, which is, oh my God, that's so crazy. And I'm just thankful for y'all, man. All the likes, all the comments, even all the participation on the community tab, which I do apologize. I've been sick, as you can hear, but hey, we almost back. I'm working on that other video right now. I appreciate my subscribers, both old and new, because you make my dreams of being a content creator realer and realer every day. And I love y'all, man. Yes, sir. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that's in the description. If you want to join my public Discord, that is also in the description as well. But yeah, man, it's been BasedDom, people. Deuces.